And now, Prince of Queens, talking to my wonderful friend Samizdat Broadcasts, fellow alt-right pioneer. And sorry, I just heard myself in the echo because I forgot to close my YouTube window, which is why I stopped talking for a second. I am talking to Samizdat Broadcasts on YouTube, who is I would say stronger pioneer of the alt left in the way that you have been seeing this new identity or political demographic coming a little bit longer than I did. Even though, I was always I was kind of always alt left, maybe, but I didn't understand that we were going to have to really differentiate ourselves from the fake left or the regressive left or whatever you want to call it, because I didn't realize that they were just. I gave them more credit than they deserved. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Never related, certainly to the direction that left-wing thought and left-wing politics have gone in the last few decades. I think it's gone off the rails in some very fundamental ways.
Mm-hmm. I very much agree.
I just gotta look around here. Just give me a moment.
Oh, yeah. So, uh, the reason that we started this live stream, well, my buddy is doing whatever he's doing on his end, is I was just on a podcast called Jungle Apocalypse, which is on YouTube. It's on a YouTube channel called Conspiracy Channel, and I was invited on there. And on YouTube, they have about 13,000 subscribers, which is, it's not a nothing channel. That's a legitimately existent channel. So I'd been preparing for this for a few months. I have about 500 subs now, a little bit more, and but when the guy first wanted me to come on the show, I think I had less than 100, maybe a little bit more than 100. So I was like, really, really, you want me on my show, on your show? Cool. And I was thinking it was 13,000 people at most were going to see this. And then I talked to him, and he's like, I'm like, so so is YouTube your prime audience for your show? And he's like, oh, please, no, no, not at all. And I'm like, really? And he's like, no, I think the biggest source of my audience is from this one website, which I had never even heard of. I don't remember what he said. But he was like, yeah, I usually get about 200,000 viewers from or listeners from that one website. And I was like, oh shit, really? And I literally did not know that this is going to be going out to a few thousand, sorry, a few 100,000 people until like we started recording the show in about 5 minutes from then. So it was kind of like this weird moment of like, oh shit, I got to be on. I got to say good stuff. Fortunately, I actually I drank a salted caramel mocha before I went on, and which I don't normally drink caffeine, so I talked really 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 fast. I don't remember everything, but we went on for probably about an hour and 20 minutes, maybe an hour and a half, and he said at the end of it that I did a really, really good job and that I was probably going to get a few subscribers. So that's the best that I can hope for. And my friend who is on this stream with me, Robert Samizdat, he was just on a show with, what's his name?
Show's called The Stark Truth with Robert Stark. Interesting, he just posted this in some of the alt-left groups on Facebook. that we're part of. If you go and look now, Prince, you might see them.
Okay. Are we gonna? I can go take. Yeah, he is posting. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I realize this is the same person as Richard, whatever that our dear friend ERA has a problem with, or is it not?
It's not quite the same guy. That's Robert Lindsay. That's the fellow who blogs over on Beyond Highbrow.
Okay.
He may well be the very first individual to use the term alt left or to have that term applied to his political views. Apparently, some people, even some of the leadership on the alt right, gave him that title.
Okay.
Rob Stark does these interviews that he broadcasts. And it was myself, a fellow named Alex von Goldstein, blogger goes by the name of Rabbit, and Robert Lindsay were all on this radio show last night, basically talking a bit about the theory and the history of the alt left.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly some of the subgroups within the alt left. We're not all necessarily one big happy family. We don't see eye to
We're
eye
not.
on
We're not
everything.
even. We're not even anything big at all. We are less than 1,000 people that are actively like trying to use this label, and those few hundred people that we are is already completely arguing about things. So it's confusing and weird. I've literally never had a disagreement with you though. Samizdat Broadcasts. I've literally never seen or heard you say something that I at all disagreed with. Like every time you post or talk, I'm like, yes, yes. And to the point where, to my shame, I don't even watch the entirety of your videos because I get about a quarter through it and I'm like, yeah, I know. This is what I think too. And and like I don't feel completely, so I try to comment and I always like them, but it's like it's sort of preaching to the choir because you and I met in this weird circumstance where you found my video where I thought that I was maybe the first person defining the alt left. I didn't really do a good search, obviously, because there were other people who were defining the alt left. But I just said, well, this is what I want the alt left to be because people keep accusing me of being alt right just because I'm apparently alt. I'm something else, and they can't wrap their minds around the fact that I couldn't be, a regressive leftist, or I couldn't be against the regressive left without being conservative. And so I just made my video off the cuff, just imagining what I wanted the alt left to be, and then it basically turned out to have all of the same principles that you talk about in depth. And you found that video of mine, and you linked me to some of your stuff, and I read it, and I'm like, oh, thank God somebody else is saying this. Like, I am so glad.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because what you just describes exactly what happened to me and what I went through discovering some of these other fellows that I had mentioned previously. Chaps like the fellow that goes by the name of Rabbit, or Robert Lindsay, and some of these others, and they had defected from the alt right due to certain ideological differences with them.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is that people, certain people are just sort of kind of all around the same time, all within this last maybe year and a half or so, coming to the conclusion that there is a need for something along the lines of an alternative left. We need a left-wing politics, just not the kind we have now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely 100% agree. I think it's just it's a terrible shame that left-wing people are in a predicament at the moment where they're being forced to compromise everything that they learned during the Bush era in terms of, the Republicans being bad. And then everything they learned during the first 4 years of Obama, when they were able to run with their idealism freely and everything seemed like it was getting better, they had, these negative experiences during the Bush years. And then when Obama was first into office, it seemed like things were getting better. And then around 2012, the regressive left really started to kick in, and, identity politics became more important than uniting people. And everybody got divided. And then, really, even over the past, ever since Bernie Sanders supported Hillary Clinton, so many of the people who should be considering themselves alt-left have been forced by fear to fall in line with the regressive left because they think that Trump is an inherently worse option than Hillary Clinton. So now they are posting pro-Clinton stuff on Facebook and being really regressive. Like I don't know if you ever check out my personal timeline on Facebook. You're one of the few people that is both friends with me on Facebook as well as, connected with me on YouTube. But I have friends who they will call me on my personal timeline, knowing they know damn well that I know 100 times as much about them as politics. Like, I do this full time. They will start saying that I'm a misogynist because of my criticisms of Hillary Clinton. People that 3 months ago were arguing in my corner against feminists and calling feminists ridiculous. And they're doing this simply because they are so scared of Donald Trump. And it's like, you guys, you do not, like, this whole thing that we talk about with the two-party system, it's a real thing. And now you're falling into this idea that there's only two options. Like, either I'm against Donald Trump, therefore making me for Hillary Clinton, or I am against Hillary Clinton and therefore making me for Donald Trump. I don't like either of them. I have been saying this the whole time. And they can't. It's like, it's people that I thought were smart. I'm realizing now that I gave people way too much credit. Like, I gave people. I've been educated in terms of, identity politics and the left and everything since the late '90s. And when I'm
Since the late 80s for me.
yeah, I believe you. And when I made most of my friends, when Obama got elected and I moved to the Bay Area, when I made most of my friends there, and everybody,
Oh Lord, you're in the belly of the beast.
I know. And a lot of the people were new to the Bay Area, and it was, many different races and different genders and, sexualities, mostly queer in some way. But I legitimately thought all of those people were just cool, and I thought that they were bringing, like, we didn't discriminate against each other. We just took each other for who each other were. And I thought that they were bringing to the table the same deep understanding of identity politics and how identity politics were stupid. And I thought that that's why they made those choices. Turns out they were mostly just people that probably didn't have a whole lot of friends their whole lives, and they were finally in an environment where they were accepted for being, a queer person of color or a trans person or whatever. And I was just one of the people that was accepting them. And even though for me, I probably could write an entire book about why diversity was important to me. And then once all of the gender baiting and all of the race baiting, like all of the identity politics, getting people paranoid that even their best friends were racist, and even their best friends were transphobic, and even their best friends were misogynists. Once that really happened, all of these people lost it, and they turned on all of their friends, and they all started fighting. And I was, the white gay guy that tried to say, "What is wrong with you guys? We are friends. We're friends." And they were like, "Shut up, you're privileged. You're a privileged white guy." And I was powerless to stop them. And I'm not talking a few people. I'm talking hundreds of people that I had this argument with. And
Because what happened in their community became all, it sounds like what happened was a moral panic.
it absolutely was. And it was coupled with the fact that in the Bay Area, rent skyrocketed overnight, like
Yeah.
over the course of a year. Like we were all able to live in San Francisco. Like people were able to live in San Francisco for $700 a month, for an apartment, which now is unheard of. You cannot get an apartment. Like if you are paying less than like $1,100 a month for a room in San Francisco, you are lucky now.
Yeah,
But it's more like 1750 on average, maybe more like even 2000, if 2000 or 2200 for a studio. And that's what it's like now, and that changed really, really quickly. And then everybody had to move, and so the people who were left were pissed off, and they wanted somebody to blame. Like they wanted to say, why did this happen? Like we had this little utopia, this really cool, diverse underground art scene where it was, every type of person. Now nobody can afford to live here anymore. Whose fault is it? And then the media said the fault is white men. Like nope, it's not the big bank. It's not the property landlords and the corporate landlords and the corporate developers. No, 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 no. It's just white men. It's
yeah.
your
They framed it in terms of race and gender.
Yeah, and so all of
Yeah,
a sudden I was to blame, even though I was the person that was organizing events. I was booking these people. I was booking fucking trans women of color and shit to play shows. And that same, I mean, not necessarily, but like I was booking queer people of color. That same person who I booked 2 months ago, a few months later, disowned me publicly on Facebook as a friend because I said that black people can be racist. They said, "You privileged white male, you
yeah,
are a racist fucker." And I said, I was like, 3 months ago, I booked you for a show and you're a fucking person of color. How racist can I be? And they said, well, fuck you. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, how can you cut off your nose to spite your face any worse? And they didn't care. But I think it was because they felt like they had nothing to lose at that point. Like I can't entirely blame them. They were just being fools. Um, but it was really astounding. And what makes me even more sad about it was that like I know personally that I'm never gonna give up fighting the good fight or whatever, because I never had to do it in the first place personally. Like I was always doing it because I had morals and I was trying to make the world a better place. If I didn't, I would have been a fucking lawyer, like I would have been a fucking investment banker, and I could have. I have those skills. I'm smart enough to do that. But um, what pisses me off is that when they treat people the way that they were treating me, the vast majority of privileged white people or whatever are gonna think "fuck you" to these people, and they're going to turn their back on them, and they're never ever going to do anything for poorer communities or people of color again, because they're going to see how like the real privileged white people that were working at startups and corporate jobs. They're going to see how those people treated me, the guy that did everything that I could for them, and they're going to say, hey, you just can't win. Why even bother?
yeah. I mean, their movement is going to cannibalize itself. There's no two ways about it.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm gonna fill up some water. Talk for a second.
And we were talking on the on Robert Stark's radio broadcast last night, and one thing that I would have mentioned with all of these talks of privilege, I got into this a little bit too, was their notions of who is privileged or who is upper class or whatever has become distorted past the point of anything reasonable or recognizable due to the fact that there's absolutely no system of economic analysis on the left anymore, and there really hasn't been one for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not looking at economic relations, inequality and social conflict only makes sense if you frame it in a cultural context. It's looked upon as being a clash of genders, races, sexual orientations, and so on. And they see that some groups do have more influence, have more money, have more power than others, but they can't wrap their heads around precisely why that is. The only answer they can come up with is privilege or discrimination. But they can't anchor that to anything solid, anything concrete, because they don't actually have a political or an economic theory, and they haven't for a long time, and it's really blinded them.
Yeah.
Like you say, they're not blaming the banks, they're not blaming the land developers, they're not blaming these economic forces on what happened on the gentrification of San Francisco. They look at the banker and they see a white male, and that's entirely how they frame it.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the alt-right types, they look at it and they frame it in a similar way, but they don't see the white male, they see the Jew. It's a similar kind of thing.
Yeah, we're not just the Jew, but like everybody against the white people who's trying to orchestrate a conspiracy to start a white genocide or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
And it's because they're like, globally white people are minorities, so the Chinese people are trying, and it's just like, no, you guys, that's not, like, corporations don't care what skin color you are. That's built into the framework of corporations, like,
that the system rewards the pursuit of maximum profit, so they're going to take their operations where labor is cheapest. They're going to import labor that will do your job for less money if they can.
Yeah, and the people that are benefiting from it, they don't even necessarily know where the labor is. They just know that they put in their money and they're getting some money out. They could be anywhere. They just send in their shares and they get the money out. And they could be fucking anywhere. It doesn't matter to them, and it doesn't matter to the corporations. The only person who has any idea about it is the CEO. And the CEO is contractually obligated to make as much money as possible, or he could be sued by anybody who's supposed to be getting money out of it. So,
yeah, I mean, he's been hired by the board of directors of whatever corporation he's working for to maximize shareholder value.
Yeah.
The shareholders have elected the board of directors for precisely that purpose. I mean, they are legally bound to act within sound business judgment to pursue maximal profit.
Yeah, which includes colluding with government.
Of course, yeah.
Which, is totally legal because of Citizens United. And then, people throw Citizens United out around like it's a buzzword. Like they, oh, Citizens United, that's a bad thing. It's like trans misogyny. And it's like, do how many of you fucking... Thank you for getting that joke.
Oh,
Thank you for getting that joke. Because, like, they know it's supposed to be a bad thing. How many leftists actually know what Citizens United is?
I wonder how many leftists, if you start trying to discuss relations of production, they think alternative lifestyle choice.
Yeah. No. Most leftists are just identitarians. Which, do you know the term?
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
I one of the videos that I have on my channel is various different anti-SJW terms. But yeah, most leftists are just people that they don't know anything about identity, or they don't know anything about actual politics. They just know about identity politics. And yeah, and what's really sad to me is that even people And I've, as I've learned about the regressive left, this has been a probably about a year long journey. When okay, it's not that I didn't understand it by experiences and as osmosis, but it was about a year and a half ago when I started to realize that this was a problem and this was not an accident. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was like, no, 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 something bigger is going on. This is just too insane. And when I'm ever on to something, when I'm ever right, I get censored, and not just necessarily, it wasn't at the point where Facebook was censoring me, which happened over the past 6 months, but it was sort of this weird peer pressure censoring where I couldn't really talk about things without somebody trying to shut me down. Like for whatever reason they had been so brainwashed that they had to shut down what I was saying. And over the course of this past year and a half, the thing that I've started to realize was that this is very much tied into the university system, this regressive left programming about, making everything about identity politics to distract from economics and stuff. Like, how many times do you ever meet a young person who's studying economics in university? It's almost unheard of. Like, I know.
And if you do, they're studying neoliberal or neoclassical theory. They're not going to get into anything that veers away from hyping the greatness of free market, free trade,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Either they're total fucking conservatives that are like, yeah, conservative, these fucking liberals are stupid. I took economics in college and I'm a libertarian now. And it's like, okay, but you understand that that is like a economic model that was invented, like 15 years ago that hasn't really changed a whole lot. And or they're like total socialists. Like there's no in between, you know? And even really smart people that are my very close personal friends to this day who, like, I'm not going to turn on them. I love them. But, like, a friend of mine went to Stanford. He went to Stanford. I'm not going to, say too much about him. He's Asian and very, very smart person. Went to Stanford, majored in economic foreign relations, like, foreign policy, that type of thing. He left Stanford, and we largely wouldn't talk about global politics that much just as friends because, he was gay, I was gay. We would do, like, faggoty ass theater work together and shit. But finally, this one time we were talking about, it was during the second Obama term, like maybe around 2014, when I was starting to realize, I was like, wait, things are just getting worse. I thought things were getting better, but things have only gotten worse since 2012. Since he got, Obama's first term, I think, was really good. And then I think in order to get elected for a second term, he had to sell his soul, is what I think. I think that, the forces said, hey, if you don't do what we want for your second term, you're over and your family's over. But that's just a theory, like that. Because I remember Obama in his debates during his second term. He sounded like he was broken. He sounded like he wasn't telling the truth anymore. And that's just me with my, like theater background and my drama instinct. It just sounded like he was not confident, and it sounded like Obama was not the same person I remember in 2008. So I was talking to my friend who's Asian, and we started talking about foreign policy, and somehow we got back to the Second World War, and he was trying to say, the Second World War, and this was a true point that he was mentioning, is that the Second World War was what set up the U.S. as the global superpower that controlled everything else, to the point where we were able to rewrite history, and everything in history was in our favor. And that I agree with, like, yes, that's true. We do not know a lot of things that has happened since World War II because it has been propaganda in the U.S.'s favor. That's true. But then we started talking about the atomic bomb, and he was saying, well, you know why they dropped the atomic bomb on Japan? And I was like, yeah, because Japan bombed Hawaii and they decimated, they like sunk a fucking aircraft carrier, which people didn't think was possible. Like at that time, people did not think that you could sink an aircraft carrier, and Japan did it, and they were poised to conquer Hawaii. And if Japan conquered Hawaii, then they could go from Hawaii to the US and attack the US. So then we dropped a nuclear bomb. We dropped two nuclear bombs on Japan to stop them from doing that. We had to show them that they could not continue this because they were allies with Germany. You know, that's what I thought. My friend, being Asian, he said, no, the reason that they dropped bombs on Japan was because of racism, because they were Asian. They could have just dropped bombs on Germany, but they decided not to. And I was like, whoa, what? Like, I'm like,
I mean,
he's like,
they used the nukes at the tail end of the war to save themselves a very costly amphibious invasion of the Japanese islands. Another problem that they had is they very quickly discovered that the Soviet Union was also preparing to launch an invasion of Japan, and they were afraid of having a similar situation to what they had in Germany, which was a division of the country between the East Bloc and the Western and NATO.
mhm.
Having a similar situation in Japan would have just made an already very tense and complicated Cold War scenario that much worse. There's a
Okay, so
lot of
you know a
speculation.
lot more about it than I do, but no. According to my friend who actually studied international relationships at Stanford, it was just racism.
Oh God, yeah.
And it was
No,
like
that's not encouraging. These are supposedly our best and our brightest minds.
and he
You know, we
is,
can't say
and
enough.
he is very smart. Like he's my one of my best friends since grade school. Like he's an incredibly smart person, but for whatever reason, they were a whoever was teaching him this shit was able to appeal to his emotional side instead of his logical brain. Like I it's like during the Bush years, all the gay men who were, like right before Bush was going to be reelected, it was like there was a war going on in Iraq, and then Bush was talking about constitutionally banning gay marriage
Yeah.
forever, and he was
You
talking
know, and
about
that
that.
rallied a lot of people
Yeah,
around this single cause. You had a
yeah,
common enemy then.
yeah, and it was so stupid to me, even as like a 23-year-old kid. I was like, you guys, like that is not the biggest issue on the table right now. And not just that, the fact that that's the only thing you care about, it just makes us look bad. It just makes us look petty. And they were like, "Fuck you! You have internalized homophobia." And I was like, and then I don't know if I was right or not, but we lost that election. I do know that, you know. So
Oh, good grief.
we have 13 viewers, so we're not doing super bad. I wonder if anyone wants to join because you might be having to go to sleep soon. I'm guessing.
Uh, I'm good that way. I may have to move though.
Okay.
Depends when the wife wants to hit the sack or not, because my whole setup's in the bedroom.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah.
I want to. I can brag a little bit to my audience, who's listening right now. I fucking went on this show on Jungle Apocalypse, is what it's called. It's on the YouTube channel Conspiracy Channel, and this guy had been wanting to get me on the show probably before I had even 100 subscribers on YouTube. I have, a little bit over 500 now. Maybe I had a little bit over 100, but I was almost not even a blip at all on the YouTube radar. When the guy was interested in having me, I commented on one of his videos. He had Karen Strawn on. Do you know Karen Strawn?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, she's probably the biggest female men's rights advocate.
Okay.
And I actually think she's great. I don't agree with her about absolutely everything, but I would say I agree with her about 98% of everything. She's on it. She is factual. She can, deliver an argument, and she cites her sources. She does research. She's amazing. She's exactly the type of person that we need advocating against, the disinformation of fourth wave intersectional feminism, because she takes it apart like a surgeon. So, Karen Strawn is great. I found this channel, conspiracy channel, the podcast Jungle Apocalypse, because I was, linked to one of her videos. So I watched it, and this guy wanted to have me on. And then he kept postponing it until finally we did it tonight. And we did it for about an hour and a half. And I drank caffeine, which I don't normally do. I had a salted caramel mocha, which, by the way, anything that's salted caramel, you guys should eat the fuck out of, because it's good. You guys will like it. Anything salted caramel, fucking awesome. And yeah, I went on this show, and I just talked, and I talked, and I talked, and I talked, and there was never a moment
You
where
talk and talk and talk. I can't imagine
yeah.
that.
But I mean,
Whereas with me, I'm so used to caffeine. I drink coffee till it sweats out my pores, and I just don't even notice it now.
yeah, I am more of a surprise, surprise. I'm a little bit more of a downer person. Like, I'm a little bit more like, hey, give me something to take the edge off of my hyperness, type of person in general. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked. The guy said that well over 200,000 people tend to check out his broadcasts. So I was representing the all left, and um, oh, and Matthew C is in the chat, my little buddy. Um, he'll be glad to know that I told the story about the monster, the most awful feminist, Cat Black. Um, I told the whole story about her trying. Matthew C finally saw the photo of Cat Black trying to basically frame me into saying something that I wasn't. Cat Black tried to say that gay men frequently sexually assault um, women,
Oh,
supposedly.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is,
Mm.
I mean, that's just it's the craziest thing that you've ever. It's like I talked to Paul Elam. Do you know Paul Elam? Who that is?
Yes, I have heard of him. A Voice for Men, I believe.
Yeah. Paul
Yeah.
Elam from A Voice for Men. He's people consider him sort of the godfather of the current men's rights movement. I was on a stream with him a week or two ago, and he's a super nice guy. And I was trying to tell him about, you know how I got into an argument, because Kat Black, this big feminist, she has well over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. She was trying to say that gay men frequently sexually assault and even rape women. And I got into an argument about that, and he was like, okay, the first thing I have to say about that is I could never even get into that argument because it's just so incredibly stupid. And I'm like, yeah, I would love to think so, except for the feminists actually believe that. They
Well, of
actually,
course they do. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean, their worldview is so paranoid and so delusional. Like I mean, they've done the mental gymnastics for a couple of years. This is how it started. They started saying that rape and sexual assault is not about sex, it's about power. It's
yeah. Well, they've been saying that for decades.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is not entirely untrue. It's
No, no.
but it's more like this. It is about sex, but the people who get off on rape and sexual assault, they also get off on the power. Like that.
Yeah, it's like the two can't be completely separated from one another.
Yeah, the mutually exclusive. They don't understand that two things can be true at once. So like,
Yeah,
even even that rapist with a knife who goes after the woman who is jogging at 5 a.m., even that sick fuck gets off on fucking her, but he's getting off on the power as well as the sex. He still gets off. Otherwise he would just beat her up or something. Like he wouldn't bother with the sex part. And like these people, they can't understand that. Or I no, I don't even know if they can't. I think that there's a significant amount of people that it suits their agenda to
yes,
separate
yes.
the two, because then they can just claim that men are doing this thing even when they aren't, and like they can claim that if a man ever jokingly slaps a woman's ass, then it gets to be sexual assault, even though it was just a joke. And then they can claim that a gay man was sexually assaulting a woman if he ever slapped her ass, which, for the record, doesn't really even happen that much. And if it does, the woman generally doesn't care. It was only after she went into the gay bar, touched all the boys, sat on their laps, danced like a stripper, slapped a few guys' ass, and then they slapped her ass because, it was a playful, joking thing. They knew that no one would care. And the woman didn't care at the time. But then she goes on the internet and remembers that one time 3 years ago when the gay man did slap her ass. And then she tells, yes, I have been sexually assaulted by a gay man. Because she knows she can tell that on the internet anonymously and the other feminists will believe her. So,
Yeah, because we all have to believe women.
yeah, we all have to believe them even when we know they're lying. And it's fucked up because it's like, you know, gay men could choose to like say that women are sexually assaulting us, but we don't want to. Why would we want to call the cops on some random straight girl at a gay bar? That's just crazy. So I was able to talk about that on a pretty big platform, and it was cool. I talk about every time I ever live stream, I talk about Cat Black in this way. I always bring this up because this is one of the reasons that I actually started making YouTube videos, was because um, she tried to frame me basically. She said that I thought that gay men couldn't sexually assault women, and that if women complained about it, then gay men would just do it more. Which is, it was not what I was saying at all. Like, she just blatantly tried to lie about what I was saying, and she did that to her like 150,000 Facebook fans. So yeah, it was a mess up thing, and I am doing everything I can to get her back about that. I know that she's actually smeared a number of other people. Cat Black is a liar. She smears people. She lies about them, and she tries to cyberbully them. She uses their real name, their real profile photo, to get people to attack them. And if you are paying attention to this and this happened to you, send me a message on YouTube, and we will talk.
You know, the problem and the thing you have with a lot of this sort of preoccupation with how they're always assaulted or raped or objectified or whatever is, you know, it was a legitimate issue. It started out for all the right reasons. That stuff did happen. But
Yeah.
it just snowballed, and it snowballed, and it snowballed.
Hmm.
And in order to keep themselves relevant, the definitions of terms like harassment, sexual assault, rape, objectification, etc., have to keep becoming more vague, and they have to keep expanding.
Yeah.
Because the underlying reality is that these are becoming weaponized concepts.
Yeah.
They can just use it to smear, and it becomes an instrument of power and control.
Yeah.
That's the elephant in the room here. And it's not been called out as such. And it's just so patently obvious to me, and
Yeah.
has been for quite some time. Now, having said that, we can't use that observation as just a means of hand waving any and every allegation of sexual misconduct that gets raised. I mean, it does really happen, but the problem is they're abusing these ideas under circumstances like you've described. And eventually it's going to reach a point where even serious and legitimate allegations of rape, sexual assault, etc., are just going to provoke a lot of eye rolls with people.
Yeah.
There they go again, Ed Wolf, eh?
Yeah. I totally agree. One of the weird things was when this started being brought up, when she posted about that and I argued, one girl posted something that sounded like maybe it was real, which was that she had a gay friend and her gay friend's boyfriend, I guess, didn't like her for whatever reason and was drunk at a party and ripped off her top, like actually tore her shirt off. And then she wasn't able to get people to consider it, like sexual assault or a crime, um, because of that, because he was gay. And that's kind of a really elaborate story to just make up. Like it's kind of like most people wouldn't think of that. Most girls who say that gay men supposedly sexually assaulted them, they say that the gay guy grabbed their boobs or some stupid stuff. But like, that sounded like, but that is a really legitimately awful thing. You know, I don't know, but I mean, it sounds like a psycho ass gay guy who hated her for some reason, who's doing that. But if you're at a party and someone rips off your shirt and you're a girl, that is a really, really bad thing. And you know, but all of these people, it was so easy for me to just want to tell her to shut up because of the context that it was brought up in. And then I thought about that later and I was like, well, maybe that really did happen to her and that would be terrible. So, oh shit. Hey, sorry, your connection. I went outside to smoke for a second. Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah.
Can you hear me? Samizdat?
Is it? Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's going in and out, but I think it should be good. I think it should be fine now.
Yeah, I'm hearing you just
Oh,
fine.
okay. Oh, we lost a few viewers. Oops. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I think that the alt left is, hopefully going to be a good haven for people to come to who share, who aren't ready to be fully, who do believe that there is still discrimination against minorities and everything. Like, we're not saying that racism isn't real. We're not saying that transphobia isn't real. We're not saying that homophobia is not real. What we're saying is that the regressive left's version of it is not helping the situation. it is sounding like the crying wolf. And not just that, it's being weaponized to attack people, which is making the problems worse.
Yeah, and they're framing these things like like racism and and transphobia and whatnot. They're framing them in such a way as to convey this message that you have this all powerful sort of systemic kind of class based oppression. And that's just a tremendous, tremendous distortion of what the reality is. Now, I'm not condoning any of that, but, in order for the prejudice of a particular individual to be reflective of a system of power and a system of oppression, those individuals actually have to have real power. I mean, they have to be empowered by the state, or they have to have ownership over, economic or some other assets or resources. And the fact of the matter is that the political and economic system as it exists at present, and white males are not a class. There's no systemic thing going on whereby any particular race or gender has anything like that. I mean, those analyses were true in days where it was legally, or at least very strongly culturally, discouraged for women to work, say, and to have any means of independent financial subsistence. So they had no choice but to marry some dude and
Yeah.
just put up with whatever life he happened to feel fit to give her. It was real under those circumstances, but that's not the case anymore because there's no legal or economic barriers to female independence.
Yeah.
So on what grounds can they cry oppression? If anything, they're the ones that have the assets in the media, in academia, and so on, in order to make those claims on a culture-wide level. Who has the real power in that case?
Yeah, they've certainly.
They're almost like a secular priesthood. In a sense, their ideology has become like the state religion, like the Catholic Church of the Middle Ages. You could almost compare it to something like that now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the second that, as I was talking about earlier, that me as a gay man who happens to be white, I did everything I could to share my resources as a person who was, in a lot of ways, relatively privileged in terms of education and, not having to worry about losing the roof over my head, which are real privileges, which I would admit. And I shared that with people. I collaborated, I taught people how to make electronic music. I organized shows, and I did work with veterans. I taught writing workshops to veterans and stuff like that. And I thought everybody knew that I was one of the good guys. That the second that a lot of these people decided, oh, well, fuck him, doesn't matter what he did, he was a privileged white male, so everything he did doesn't count, that proved that there was a big disconnect in their priorities. To me,
They had, like I said, succumbed to a kind of moral panic.
yeah.
The communities were just swept up in this, oh my God, racism, oh my God, sexism, stuff like that. Have
Hmm.
you ever heard of something that happened in the 1980s called the Satanic Panic?
Oh yeah, and I've heard about the comparisons to that in the Regressive Left. I think it's
I,
absolutely
I
apt.
can I can tell you for sure because I actually went through it.
Hmm.
Pretty much the same. I mean, I was, when I was 14, 15 years old, and this is what I discussed on Robert Stark's podcast last night. I told this story, and this was the beginning of my politicization.
Hmm.
14, 15, a kid that age, I just wanted to listen to metal and play Dungeons and Dragons and be left alone. Well, that wasn't going to happen after Geraldo Rivera aired his expose, a term I use rather loosely, on satanic cult activity in America. And this was in the days when the religious right was a real serious power player. Um, well, this thing aired, and of course, this panic picked up and picked up and picked up, and I was caught in the middle of it, and I went through a lot of the same kinds of things that you were describing. Oh my God, he's involved in this cult, and he's sacrificing animals to the devil, and all of this stuff. And yeah, lost friends, got into fights at school, got called into the principal's office, constant quarrels with my parents over stuff like that, over something that like a week or a month before was nothing.
Yeah.
It's because this climate of fear and suspicion and paranoia picks up critical mass in a group context. And once that happens, any kind of reason or rational approach can be lost very, very quickly. And it's happened time and time again throughout history. And I'm seeing a lot of the same dynamics play themselves out now with all of these SJW concerns.
Yeah.
Oh my God, cultural appropriation. Oh my God, microaggressions. Oh my God, this kind of thing.
I'm sure you agree with this, but I want to hear your relation to this in terms of the satanic panic. I made a whole video about how I think that a lot of the concerns of SJWs are entirely projection.
Yeah.
They're concerned that they are, like even down to cultural appropriation, which I related to the fact that most of the people that I notice complaining about cultural appropriation are people who are, for example, the prime example is a black person who almost always had generally white friends growing up. Like the people that I know who are black who actually grew up listening to hip hop music and shit, they don't care about Iggy Azalea and Macklemore making hip hop music. They don't care about white people rapping. They don't give a shit. But
and for decades, that group didn't.
yeah, but then the black kids who are now in their mid 20s or whatever, who grew up listening to rock music and then all of a sudden over the past couple of years decided that they had to be very loyal to black culture or else they might get attacked by other SJWs, like, oh, why do you only listen to rock music? You're supposed to be black. That's a new recent thing to them. Then they started attacking everybody else and accusing people of cultural appropriation. I think it's projection. I think it's the fact that they don't they do not really necessarily feel, and I'm saying this about individuals. I can't say this about absolutely everybody, but a lot of the people that I know who are the most gung-ho about accusing things of cultural appropriation, like how dare white people be making rap and hip-hop music, these people were always rock music fans their whole life, and they're just trying to shift the blame to somebody else. They're trying to say, like, oh, I'm black, and now I'm pretending to like hip-hop, even though secretly I basically liked white music my whole life. But it's okay for me to like rap and hip-hop because I'm actually black, but you can't because you're white, and it's like, do you see how that's projection? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And when the funny thing is like when I was in high school, you were considered racist if you didn't listen to rap and hip hop. I listened to metal, of course, as I alluded to earlier, and I was getting into fights with those kids because they figured I was some kind of Nazi for not listening to black music. This was back in the early 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan if you're a white kid that does like it. Like you see what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
this moral hysteria that's way out of proportion with the actual level of threat present. I mean, if you were actually having the clan or skinhead gangs and stuff like that going around and harassing, young ethnic kids, then yes, this level of fear would be justified. And that type of thing happened in my hometown too. I used to get into fights with kids like that when I would go to the metal shows. And who would they always go after? Well, yeah, the kid in the hall with the hammer and sickle on his t-shirt. But then again, I'm the guy my friends had to hold back because I wanted to go after them. Funny that.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm too
it
old
is.
for that now.
One of the things. Do you listen to Jonathan Haidt much?
Some, yes.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that he says about, the basically the SJW mentality, people who he talks about it in reference to people who complain about microaggressions. Microaggressions is just code word for SJWs getting angry for no reason or for reasons that they are trying to get angry about, really. And what he says is that
Well, for the same reasons that people used to get all worked up about rock and roll music corrupting the morals of our youth. Like, it's women, or it's communities of color, or it's LGBT communities going through these same kind of dynamics. Oh my God, the purity of our group identity is threatened. It's threatened from without, and it's threatened from within.
yeah,
It's the same kind of mentality that unleashed the Spanish Inquisition,
yeah, and but what he says.
which I'm sure you weren't expecting, by the way.
I've never watched that Monty Python Get Bit, but I know, I've heard about it. Um, but what
Nobody
he's
expects the Spanish Inquisition.
yeah,
Nobody.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but what he says about the moral panic and the microaggressions and the things like that, which I think is the pivotal insight, is that this stuff only ever comes after you're already living in a generally extremely egalitarian environment.
Mhm.
Like, it basically only ever comes once everything is actually all right. Like, once you're in a college where nobody is actually racist and nobody's actually homophobic and nobody is actually sexist, then people start inventing these microaggressions and these problems with things like that, which makes perfect sense to me. I made an entire video called I think it was something like why gay guys don't care about microaggressions. And the reason why is because gay guys, even probably still, but especially if you were a gay guy who, grew up as a teenager in the 90s like I did, we experienced so much blatant upfront hatred and bullying
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
and jokes. It was completely 100% acceptable to pick on gay men and gay teenagers and gay boys. All
Phony,
through,
phony, and contrived oppression and bigotry doesn't cut it with you because you've seen the real thing.
it was constant. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
constant, and it was perfectly acceptable. Even you would even have friends who would make gay jokes or say that's so gay as a negative, and you just dealt with it because at least they were your friend. At least if it really came down to it, they would defend you. Like and to imagine, I mean, and I'm not going to compare the oppression of or discrimination against black people as compared to gay men because I do think it is very different. But to imagine a white friend of a black person who would say the N word as a negative, but then actually defend his black friend, like, that's a very, very obscure concept to imagine in these days. Like, what type of white person who's friends with a black person would say the N word as a negative who wasn't totally a racist? Like, that's just almost unheard of. But that would
Yeah, they would use it unironically.
Yeah, yeah. If they used it unironically, but in the 90s and the early 2000s, especially during the Bush years, I think it got worse for a while during the Bush years. Um,
Yeah,
I had I knew all sorts of people who did not think they were homophobic, who liked me as a friend, but they would say homophobic things all the time.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
was
yeah.
it was culturally acceptable, and it was something that you dealt with it or you didn't. A lot of people didn't deal with it as much as I did. I was actually a lot more tolerant of it, but it was a constant. It was absolutely constant, and the only time it changed was around when Obama got elected, but it persisted for a couple years. But then over the past couple years, maybe 3, 4 years, it became generally culturally unacceptable to be homophobic in the circles that I'm in. But granted, I live in extremely leftist cities, and I always have. It became a taboo to say this type of things, but it changed, and it didn't used to be like that. So you can't trick gay guys to being upset by microaggressions, because we dealt with constant macroaggressions, and even the macro, even the full-on aggressions, the things that were definitely homophobic, it didn't hurt us that much. We've been through it, and
Kind
so
of
these
like what blacks went through for like further back in the day. Like,
exactly.
blacks coming right out of the civil rights struggles of the 50s and 60s wouldn't have given a toss if you wore dreads, say, or something like that.
And they didn't. Nobody
Yeah,
cared
yeah,
about
yeah,
dreads in the 90s. There was all sorts of white
yeah.
people with dreads. In fact, I bet a lot of black people appreciated a white guy with dreadlocks. They were like, "Oh, you're trying to be down with us. Cool. I'm glad." Like
Yeah, if like I said earlier, it was almost expected back in those days. Like if you weren't trying to get into their culture to at least some degree, you were suspected of racism.
yeah, and I maintain, like I mentioned this before, but the black people that I know who are, like lower income and who have actually probably struggled a lot in their lives, these are people that they don't care about microaggressions. They've had to deal with harder stuff. The people who care about microaggressions are the fucking rich bitches that go to
Yeah,
college.
yeah,
And like when there was the Orlando shooting, and you probably saw the footage of the woman who went up and spoke at the vigil and tried to derail the vigil and make it all about Black Lives
yeah,
Matter.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, the
she
reality
that
of Black Lives, they're like the reality of that movement is that it's pure academic astroturf.
it is. But what's sad about it is that, I mean, okay, it's not just academic astroturf. It's also um, people who are professional. They're trying to be professional activists
Yes,
and
yeah, yeah.
trying to, harness some sort of credentials. Like they're hoping that they're going to get an honorary degree from a university like the New School University in New York, which gave Anita Sarkeesian an honorary degree. There are colleges, universities out there that will, if you make yourself a celebrity in whatever kind of way, they'll give you an honorary PhD, and you can teach for them, and not just teach for them, but probably teach for them only like one day a week to like
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
and
yeah.
get paid a whole bunch because you're their celebrity professor. And these people know that. They know that they can, so it's a career path for them to be this
Yep,
like
yep, yep.
outspoken activist. And they sort of have to invent these problems, but the problem that they're doing is basically just manufacturing outrage, you know and it's especially insidious with the Black Lives Matter.
To keep themselves relevant,
Yeah, and it's especially
because the whole thing is egocentric.
it's egocentric. Yeah, yeah, and you can tell that especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, because the Black Lives Matter movement is branded, packaged, and sold as a feminist movement. even
Yeah, yeah.
though even though it does not stand to benefit women mostly, because the people who are being killed are mostly black men. So it's like this weird mix of motivations. It's like, this shouldn't theoretically be a feminist movement, and yet somehow it is. But, I think that has to do with the fact that the money being put into activism is all feminist because it's all coming from the top, and where is the top right now? Well, it's the people who want to put Hillary Clinton in office. And that, which we talk about in our little alt-left groups. But, it's really disturbing to know that those people are doing that. But what's also scarier is that I don't think they have control over the Black Lives Matter movement anymore. Like if, Alicia Garza, the the the
Yeah, yeah.
the godmother of the Black Lives Matter movement, with
There's three of them, I think.
yeah, but no, but she's the main one. She's the one
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
on
yeah.
CNN. Alicia Garza, who I don't think she's a bad person overall. I think I when I hear her talk, I think she's honest. I think she thinks she's doing something good.
And it,
And
it probably started with all the right intentions, and they do have some points. Like they
yeah,
have some points about how yeah, things like, say, militarization of law enforcement, privatization in prisons, war on drugs. A lot of these things have fallen very, very heavily on black communities.
yeah, and
Uh, but of course, um, but of course, predominantly in the lower classes. There's that word again.
they do talk about the school to prison pipeline, which is the thing. However, you know, Alicia Garza, I saw her make a bad mistake, and this was during the primaries. She told, I think the San Francisco Chronicle, some sort of Bay Area newspaper, and this was when they were going strong. This was when Black Lives Matter was a big, constantly, on all the media. She told one of the newspapers, they asked her, who are you going to vote for? And, of course, they always said, we don't support any candidate. We don't support, because, as a mainstream activist, you can't have an allegiance to a political candidate. You have to, remain independent, because otherwise you're putting your eggs in a basket, and it will
Yeah.
undermine your independence as an activist. But she said, I don't know who I'm voting for, but it's certainly not Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She said that, and I remembered that, and I posted at the time, and this was probably during April of this year. This was a long time ago, and I said, oh, that might not have been a wise move, Alicia Garza. I wonder if we're going to hear about you anymore. And we did not hear about Black Lives Matter at all for a number of months. Like, I
Yeah.
swear to God, there was like a good 3 or 4 months where you did not hear about Black Lives Matter, and the only time you heard about them again, and like, people can believe me, or they, a lot of time when I tell people things like this, they don't believe me, but I kept track. The only time you heard about Black Lives Matter again was right when Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race. As soon as Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race, there was like two Black Lives Matter shootings that were well reported within one day. It was absurd how, obvious it was to me, because it was like, okay, Bernie Sanders is the better candidate for racial equality and, like, stopping police over policing of black neighborhoods. And if anyone pays attention, they should have known that. And the head of Black Lives Matter had come out against or the head of Black Lives Matter had come out against Hillary Clinton. All the pieces are there. All the puzzle pieces are there. Um, and then once Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race, they realized that they could use Black Lives Matter effectively as a political tool and media again, and they did as soon as Bernie Sanders was gone. So that was a big, you know, moment for me. And even since then, you have not seen Alicia Garza too much in media. It's almost, and you would see her on CNN like once a week for a while. she would have a little appearance. It was Alicia Garza, the feminist that started Black Lives Matter, and they were parading her around. When she came out against Hillary Clinton, she did not get the same press. Hello? You still there? Okay, so my friend is maybe not here for the moment, so I'm just gonna talk. Hey, what's up everybody in the chat? How are you guys all doing? Glad that you're here tuning in. Um yeah, I it's amazing that people literally still think that Black Lives Matter is not a brand, it's not a trademark. It's just simply the statement that Black Lives Matter. And that if you are not 100% in favor of Black Lives Matter, TM, if you're not in favor of Black Lives Matter, the brand, then that means you don't think that Black Lives Matter. They still have those little memes. They say, when I say that Black Lives Matter, I'm not saying that white lives don't matter. I'm not saying that other races don't matter. I am just saying that Black Lives Matter too. That's all I'm saying. No, no, that's not what you're saying. That's not what you've been saying for years. We all know it. You know it. It is a hive. I believe in the statement, the group is a hive mind trash. That is what Ashlyn says. Ashlyn, do you want to come in the chat now? Because I think my friend might have gone, like, fallen asleep. Girl, Ashlyn, I think you, oh, he's here, but he's muted for some reason. Let me make sure that I didn't do that. I don't think I did, though, because I haven't even looked at my, no, you're not muted, buddy. Maybe you disconnected your headset. Okay, cool. Ashlyn wants to come in. Um, Ashlyn, are we friends on Twitter? Are we? Um, oh, okay. Oh, Sky Ninja wants to come in too. Cool. I'm gonna send Sky. Okay, so we're gonna have a little powwow. That's gonna be good because Sky Ninja's a sweetie. I haven't talked to Sky Ninja in a while. And Ashlyn, um, if we're not friends on Twitter, um, hold up, Jesus, sorry for the uh. Yeah, but Ashlyn, I don't know how to contact you to add you to it. Is the problem. Ashlyn, will you okay. No, Ashlyn, just post your email. How about that? Post your email in the chat and I'll send you the email and we'll be doing it in like, 2 or 3 minutes. That's all you gotta do. Just post your email. So let me tell some jokes to my 10 viewers. The problem is about gay men and the sanctity of marriage is that gay men literally, they said this wasn't going to happen, but it did happen. Gay men did. Who just? I'm sorry. Somebody just posted a racist joke, and that I don't know if I'm okay with that joke that they actually just posted. But okay, so what? This is the question. What does a gay man bring on a second date? You don't know? You don't know? You don't know? His husband!
Where did everybody go?
they're here. So is that Sky Ninja?
Yes, I just joined in. Hello.
Hi, Sky Ninja. Cool. Um, so my other friend Samizdat, he is like gone, I guess. Um,
Yeah, it just shows you and me. And that's it.
yeah, he was okay, but I'm trying to get my friend Ashlyn. Ashlyn, what the fuck? Fuck, post your fucking email address. I want to send you the link. Um, unless she's trying to get me on Twitter, she might have actually tried to do that. No, maybe not. She's cool. We were streaming before. She's like, just send me the link. And I'm like, I don't know how to send it to you. I literally do not know how to send it to you. She,
Telepathy. That's how.
yeah, she lives in Alabama. She's a black girl and she is a non-SJW. That's all I need to know. That's good enough for me. Hello?
Cool.
Oh,
Hello.
hey, is that Ryan? Ryan's back. Ryan, okay, so Ryan, your mic does appear to be muted on my screen.
I see it too.
Oh, but now
Can
it's
you
not.
hear me?
Oh,
Can you
Oh,
hear
there you are.
me?
There you are. Yay. Okay, so there's three of us now. And
Okay, cool.
I want Ashlyn back.
Well, no, it's the delay from from that. Sorry. Yeah, that was weird. I was muted there for a little while. I disconnected. I tried to connect again. It didn't work. Now it is. Go figure.
So, Sky Ninja, how you been doing? I haven't talked to you in a while.
uh, if you've seen my channel, everyone's been saying that I've been going through some turbulence, which in my life, yes, I really have. It's been a turbulent month. My stress level has been at 12 or more out of 10.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I have to
Uh,
shamefully tell you that I have not checked out your channel in the past couple weeks.
that's okay. I have it up. I've had guest videos the whole time. I have one video dropping on Sunday that's just a Fallout video that I made really quickly, a fun little, hey, because it's October 23rd, 61 years before the Great War happens kind of thing.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
Wars.
just
The Great War is going
the,
to happen.
yeah, October 23rd, 2077.
I didn't.
But
Oh, that's like some sort of like Necronomicon. Oh, wait, not. No, I'm. I know what you're talking about. Some sort of. Who is Nosferatu? No, that's no, the predictor person. I don't remember.
Nos-
Nostradamus.
That's what I'm like.
Nosferatu,
Not Nosferatu.
the vampire.
Nostradamus the vampire.
Yeah, I said Necronomicon too. That's like
Yeah, I caught that. I'm like,
That's Lovecraft.
no.
yeah, that's like Army of Darkness. Fucking
But Lovecraft is often referenced in Fallout, so you're not entirely off.
I started playing my first Halo game yesterday, which I had never done. I went to the fucking mall and sorry, I just took a shot. Let me just drink some water. Mm. I went to the mall and I was with my friend and she wanted to go see a movie. We had gotten some sushi. I owed her money because she bought me like 20 drinks this one night.
Damn.
And, well, maybe not 20, but we lost track. But because you know, Prince of Queens can drink. And we fucking we went and I got her conveyor belt sushi, you know, so but she didn't even really eat that much and then she wanted to maybe see a movie and I was like, you know, not really in the mood to see a movie. Let's just go to the mall because we were right by a mall and so we went to the mall and we went into the used video game section. I ended up buying 3 video games. I bought for Xbox 360 because there was a used video game place and I got Batman, Arkham, fucking not Arkham City, but whatever the one was before that, and then I got Street Fighter 4, which is pretty fucking weak, I have to say. it's not up to my standards of Street Fighter games because
It's not bad.
well, maybe I'll get more into it. Maybe I'll get more used to the gameplay, but I was not super into it. I mean, granted, I only played it once, and I was Cammy, and Cammy did not move the way that I remembered Cammy moving, and I'm very attached to the way I remember Cammy moving from Super Street Fighter 2 up through, I guess, Street Fighter versus X-Men was really the last time I kept track of Cammy's mobility. Um, and I got also Halo. What was the Halo called? Whatever the one is. It's Reach. I got Halo Reach. I
For
think it's
some
like
reason that I was gonna say that. I'm like, why do I think he's gonna say Halo Reach?
it's the team oriented one where you're a team the whole time. Um, and I'm not really a first person shooter person. Like the closest thing to that I've gotten into is Skyrim, which I know that you don't think is really all that great, but I like Skyrim a lot. But so for whatever reason, like first person shooters have always just been a little bit like not that great to me. And I don't remember why we changed the concept to or I'm starting to get drunk now, so I don't remember why I started bringing up. I'm losing viewers. Okay, somebody else talk about something interesting.
Well,
Um, okay, Ashlyn. Oh, okay. So talk about anything.
talk about anything. Anything is a word. It is a word that can be found in the dictionary. And you know what else you find in the dictionary? Awesome. Awesome is a word in the dictionary. And now all the viewers are like, what in the hell is this ninja babbling about? And all I have to say is, well, Prince said talk about anything. Okay, horrible joke is done.
Okay, I was able. Oh, sorry, I didn't even really listen to it. But maybe that's better. Um, I just sent Ashlyn the link to the Hangout, so she'll be in here soon, hopefully.
Cool.
Um,
You know what game took years of my life away from me? Dragon Age Origins. Didn't you guys ever play that?
no, but
No.
I own Dragon Age Inquisition, but I have not started it yet.
I don't think my computer could run that thing, but I'm telling you, Origins was a classic.
Yeah.
What a great game.
Um. So sorry, Ashlyn. I sent you the link, and I know that you're here. I'm glad that you're watching. But link don't work. Yes, it does. Okay, hold up. She says it doesn't work, but I do not believe her. Well,
Maybe the link
that's
got fired by Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's listening to this. He suspects she may be a Hillary supporter.
Hmm. He's hunting them, isn't he?
Oh, okay. Well, Ashlyn, just fucking give me your email in the goddamn chat, and I will link it to you through your email. I don't have a problem with doing that unless you have a problem revealing it to the 8 viewers who are watching the chat, which I don't think is that big of a deal. She can't link directly. Sometimes when you send someone a link to the Hangout, it like doesn't work where they're coming from, you know? Um, Fuck it. Should I just post the Google? I'm just gonna post it in the chat. I don't care. If people come in here, I'll just kick them out. If you
Oh,
guys
snap.
if you guys don't ask before coming in, I will kick your ass out. Oh God, what did I do? Um,
Prince, grab your band hammer just in case.
yeah, I'm drunk enough to be a bitch. I don't care.
Who did you let in?
I know. I actually literally just posted. Oh, and then she just posted her email.
Nerp a
um,
derp.
Okay, well, Ashlyn, I'm gonna send it to your email just in case you didn't realize that I just posted it in the.
Half of Cat Black's fan base now knows how to contact you directly.
No, I
They're
just
gonna
put.
join.
Fortunately, I actually just posted. I posted just this hangout in. So as soon as we hang up this call, it will be irrelevant. Um, I'm smart enough not to actually post my personal email address. Um,
Oh God, I don't even like to use my real name if I can help it. It
see
creeps
you.
out the odd time though.
Okay, let's see. There we go. Ashlyn, sending it to you again. Let's hope she can get in here.
I have a new avatar that I made, and I'm planning to debut it, but I don't know if I should wait till I hit 88 subscribers or 100, because I have 87 right now, and I'm a Back to the Future nerd, and so 88 is kind of a cool number for me.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Did you make it with crayon?
No, I actually made it with in Paint and Photoshop.
Oh yeah. Oh, Ashlyn's
Hello?
here.
Is this working?
Hey. Yeah, you're
We
here.
was ninjas.
What's good?
Not much. How are you doing?
Good. I just finished eating some apple pie.
Oh, I want some.
There's still some left over, but I don't think I could
You
ship it to you,
you don't think you could toss it to me from Alabama?
unfortunately.
I might be a little
Did you
bit far.
did you two forget about your portals? Jeez, come on. Just
I'm sorry. It's
open the
been a
portal,
long
boom, done.
day. It's been a
Fair
long
enough.
day. I'm a slack.
Fair, fair enough.
What you gonna
Plus you're on the
expect?
East Coast, so it's
Yeah, man.
later.
Oh, good.
All right.
I have a cigarette butt left. I forgot to buy new cigarettes today, so I'm just like
Good.
smoking the smoke that's left out of my ashtray. Cause
Prince,
yeah.
good talking to you, brother.
What?
I gotta run. Good talking to you, brother. I gotta
Oh, you're
run.
gonna go?
I've been up since 4 a.m. and it's midnight where I am now. I gotta hit the hay,
My
brother.
God.
All right, you
Go
too.
to sleep.
All right. Well,
Jeez.
great to talk to you, Samizdat. Yeah, it was lovely.
Well, yeah, it doesn't bother me much, but you know what I said earlier about caffeine? I mean, I just drink it like water, eh? Don't even notice.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Anyway,
I know what you're
great,
saying.
great chat. Listen to that if you get around to it. Listen to that Robert Stark interview with me too. I talk all about my whole political background and everything. You'll
Okay.
find it interesting. All right, good chat, bro. Talk to you again.
Cool.
That'll
Love
be.
that guy. He's great. He's good. If you guys we're in the alt left on Facebook, people are, not alt right, but we're not regressive left either.
Hmm.
So if you want to check that out.
I will.
How long have I been streaming on YouTube? Hold on, let me check this out. Because if I'm 2 hours, we might want to cut this pretty short, but we can hang out and chat for a little bit just because, I think I said a lot of
Yeah.
good stuff with him that I would like people to actually check out.
Yeah, it was a good stream.
Cool. I'm going to give it another 10 minutes and then I'm going to cut it off. And if
Yeah.
someone who's in the chat wants to try to like get my attention and jump in, we could like have a little after party for a second maybe.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
I'm just over here watching
partying
apocalypse
behind the
documentaries.
scenes. Trying not to be obscene. No, who am I kidding?
So wait,
Hey, dog, can you shut up? Dog, stop. Boy.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Ninja,
I am Ninja.
what's been going on your channel again? You were saying something and then I think you got cut off.
About the art that I made, the new avatar art.
Yes, it was
Like I was debating on 88 if I should debut it at 88 subs because Back to the Future reference, 88 miles per hour, 88 subs, or wait till I hit 100.
Yeah.
100 is a pretty good milestone, but if you do want to make a good reference, you can do the 88. It's kind of a hard decision.
This is true. In my Jill Stein video, I did it. There was a perfect opportunity because I'm like, Jill, you and I have a match of 88%, like 88, great Scott. And I flashed the Doc Brown Great Scott meme
Oh my
like a
gosh.
split second. Yeah, if I
Oh,
could, that's one of the ones. That's one of the memes that if I can slip it in like a half second, quarter second, say, wait, did I just see what I think I did? Like, yes,
Good.
yes, you did.
I'm busy preparing this one meme that I just realized because I just finished watching The Huntsman, like that sequel to Snow White and the Huntsman,
Okay.
and I was looking at the relationship between um uh that one queen that's like where's all the gold, and then the ice queen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's this feminism like corrupted this one girl, and now she just hates men and everything. It was really ridiculous. um like I even tweeted
Nice.
about it, and like I downloaded like the uh movie movie poster or something like that on my phone, and I'm gonna like Photoshop it and everything to, I don't know,
Oh,
to
nice.
some YouTubers and stuff on there. I don't know. It's gonna
Oh,
be trash, but
that should be hilarious.
yes, I hope so. You know, that's my revelation for the day.
Mhm. Mine is I'm just making it through the days. I've been in under a lot of stress. I was telling
Same.
Prince earlier that I haven't even uploaded anything to my channel because of just what's
Mm,
going on this month. I'm at like a 12 out of 10 on stress.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
I I live tweeted the national embarrassment or the debate, whatever, same thing.
Same. I did too.
And yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it
just
was
just launch just
embarrassing.
launch the nukes now. No kidding.
I know, right? Irony. I just finished watching a show. It was like a 10 ways humans would destroy themselves, and number two was talking about the USA and Russia tension and that it may lead to World War III.
Oh,
And I'm like,
lovely.
wow, thanks guys.
Jeez, the Cold War is coming back almost. And what's
God,
crazy is that, and you'll, if there's any history buffs out here, you'll appreciate it. I watched
I
the
am a history
alternate.
buff.
Oh, nice. Are you familiar with Alternate History Hub?
I've heard of them. I haven't had the time to sit down and watch them because usually I just sit there on the History Channel and watch it, and whatever comes on. But unless I look at my own time, no,
Yeah,
I'll have to
alternate.
look at.
Go ahead. Okay, well,
hello.
Alternate History Hub. They uploaded a thing of what happened. What would have happened had the Cold War actually gone hot and they launched nukes? And he used the 1983 reference point where the Soviet satellite misread, and the one guy said there was the one guy who said no to the launching nukes, where the other
Mm-hmm.
two said yes, similar to something that happened like ago in the sub. But in the 83, they said, okay, let's say that the guy who said no wasn't there and there was someone else filling in. They got their alert in 1983, said yes, yes, yes. What would have happened if that had happened? If instead of them holding off, the glitch ended up creating nuclear war. And holy
Well,
shit. You're looking at it like an
well, we wouldn't.
80% of the globe just dying within a year.
Hey, you
Well,
guys. You guys, I'm gonna cut this stream off. But I'm gonna give it about a minute and a half in case somebody in the chat wants to join us for a little bit of an after party. Because I got about let's look, about 2 shots left of whiskey, so I can hang out for a second if anyone wants to join. Just put your email in the in the chat, and we
In the
can
chat.
talk for a little minute. But I do want to end it because I think there's some good points that is in here. So
Yeah, it was a pretty good stream.
that guy's smart, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I hope you have some more streams with him.
Oh yeah, he's been on a number of my streams. He pops in and out because he actually has like a wife and a kid and a job, I think. So
Yeah, yeah.
like yeah, but no, um he's on my political wavelength, and he always I like we almost generally agree about everything, as you could tell.
Yeah, yeah. You guys were like almost on the same wavelength.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Um,
Hmm.
okay, so it doesn't really look like anyone else is going to join this stream. Yeah, it does not. Well, it was great to have you guys in the chat and checking everything out. And I'm gonna end this stream right now, and we're gonna be even more shitlords than we already are. Okay,
Oh, fun.
signing off, Prince of Queens. Bye.
Hasta la pasta.